Taunt, Party Heal, Heavy Attack. That's right! Today, I will be ranking the best and the worst abilities in For the King. Let us begin! Taunt. This ability forces the enemy to target you and increases your armor while you're doing it. On paper, that sounds like a tank tool. And it is, but here's the problem. Using taunts means giving up your attack. And in For the King, giving up damage is usually giving up control of the fight, because the faster you remove the enemies, the less damage you ever need to take in the first place. So instead of solving the problem, Taunt delays it. Taunt is C tier. Piercing. This is the ability that looks boring until you run into something with armor. A lot of armor. And Piercing just says no. It ignores armor completely. And against certain enemies with high armor or magic resistance, Piercing isn't just good, it's required. Without it, fights drag on forever. With it, the problem just stops existing. Piercing is A tier. Rush. This is the ability that makes you question if the game is working as intended. When I say speed is king in For the King, I mean everything is about going before the enemy. You go first, you win. And Rush just says, what if your team went first? Again, it pushes your team forward in the timeline, which is a very fancy way of saying your strength class gets to hit twice before the enemy even processes what's happening. Rush is S tier. Bleed Attack, Ignite Attack, and Wet Attack. Bleed Attack and Ignite Attack adds damage over time, while Wet Attack removes all immunity from the enemy. These effects sounds impactful on paper, and to be fair, they do have moments where they matter. And don't get me wrong, if the weapon is good and the damage is good, then go for it. These additional effects are always welcome when they come attached to strong weapons. But these effects alone should not be your sole reason for picking the weapons. Because of that, Bleed, Ignite, and Wet Attack all sit in C tier. Heavy Attack, simple idea. More damage in exchange for more rolls and worse accuracy. This helps kill the enemy before they get a turn, and when they're dead, they don't hit you back. And Heavy Attack is one of the easiest ways to just delete something off the screen. No damage taken, no problem to deal with, just one less enemy. Heavy Attack is A tier. Party Heal. This is not an ability, this is a lifestyle. You heal all 3 party members with the price of 1 God's Beard. So instead of fixing one mistake, you fix the entire team in a single button press. It's ridiculous. Now, yes, you can attack when you use Party Heal, which means you do have to think a little bit, use it at the right time, or just use it between fights like a responsible human being. Party Heal is S tier. Speed Up. At first glance, this feels like it should be amazing. In a meta where speed is king, anything that increases speed should be insane, right? But in practice, it doesn't work out that way. The problem is setup cost. Using a full turn just to apply speed up means you are not attacking, not controlling the enemy. You are spending tempo to gain tempo later. By the way, this applies to attack up as well. And with that, speed up and attack up are B tier. Reset. This is Rush, but meaner. Instead of making your team faster, it cancels enemy action in the timeline, which is a very polite way of saying you just deleted their entire existence for a moment. And in a game where speed is everything, if the enemy can't attack, they can't do anything. So now you're just standing there, taking turns, slowly dismantling them while they wait their turn like a well-behaved NPC. This isn't a fight anymore. Reset is S tier. Stun. Stun is good because it pushes the enemy back in the timeline. And in this game, anything that messes with turn order is valuable. But it has a few problems. A lot of enemies are immune to stun, so you don't actually get to use it as often as you would like. That said, some weapons do combine stun with damage, which helps a lot and makes it more usable without wasting a turn. But overall, it lands in B tier. Splash. This is one of those abilities that doesn't sound crazy until you start noticing how much work it's doing. You hit one enemy and the damage just spills over to the ones next to it. One enemy has 1 health left. Normally you waste a whole attack finishing it. With Splash, you just hit something else and that enemy quietly disappears on the side like it was never part of the fight. It's not flashy, it's not broken, but it's always useful. Splash is A tier. Restore Focus. This is one of those skills where you read it once and then you realize the game is not prepared for you to understand it because your party will never run out of focus, ever. And the best part, Restore Focus is incredibly easy to abuse. You find one weak enemy, just one, and instead of ending the fight like a normal person, you sit there, restoring focus over and over until your entire team is fully charged, like you just shoved 5 golden roots down their throat. Restore Focus is S tier. Armor up, resistance up, evasion up, reflection, and protection. These all fall into the same category, and the issue with them is consistent. They cost a full turn to use, and that alone is already a major downside. So instead of solving the fight, these buffs tend to delay the problem. And in most cases, delaying damage is worse than preventing it outright by ending fights faster. Because of that, armor up, resistance up, evasion up, reflection, and protection sit in D tier. Shocking Attack. Shock prevents enemies from landing perfect rolls. And in this game, perfect rolls are everything. Take that away from the enemy and suddenly enemies feel a lot less threatening. Shock is A tier. Cure. Cure can be useful when you really need it, but most of the time, it falls into the same problem as a lot of support actions in For the King. There are just better things to be doing. Attacking, restoring focus, using rush, ending the fight before the damage even matters. So while Cure has its moments and can absolutely save a run in the right situation, it doesn't show up often enough to justify a higher ranking. Cure is C tier. Freeze Attack. This one is pretty straightforward. It makes the enemy take more damage, which is always a good thing. Anything that increases damage is going to have value. That said, Shock is still better. So Freeze Attack sits in B tier. Speed Down. This is one of those mechanics where you start using it and then you realize the game might be a little broken because slowing down the enemy is just insanely strong. And it's consistent. Honestly, it's more reliable than Rush or Reset just because of how easy it is to pull off. Which leads to the funniest part. Sometimes, a broken loot is better than a weapon that causes 3 times more because the expensive one does damage and the broken one wins fights. Yeah, Speed Down is S tier. Bruh.